Hello and welcome, crafty friends. In today's Step Up Your Stenciling video, I'm going to make 6 cards using stamps with my stencils. I'll show you the whole process for one card, then partial processes for the other cards, and at the end I'll show you all the finished cards. So do stick around for that. So I have here a piece of smooth white cardstock and a large stencil with triangles on it. And I've got some green Catherine Polar inks. I think I've got matcha and sage. And I'm just blending these through my stencil about a third of the way down my panel of card to create a delicate green triangular pattern. But before removing my stencil, I stamped using the darker green, the sage, and I stamped through the stencil. The stamp is a kind of grungy, distressed bubble wrap type stamp. You do have to press quite hard because the stencil gets in the way of the stamp contacting the paper, but it is possible. And once you remove the stamp and you remove the stencil, you get a stamped image that's restrained to the stenciled area. To finish this card, I wanted to keep it nice and simple, so I cut my panel down with a stitched rectangle die and popped it on a card. I then die cut out a large leaf shape, put it on my grip mat and coloured it with some reds and browns from the Catherine Polar range. I think I've got Coral Cabana, Sandcastle, maybe Clay Mask as well, I think. So it's got an autumnal reddish feel, and this will contrast nicely with the green behind it. Red and green are opposite each other on the colour wheel. They're complementary colours, which means when you put them together, they bring out the best in each other. To finish my leaf, I spattered on some gold metallic paint and I encouraged the drops to run into the embossing on the leaf so it flowed along the veins. To stick down my leaf, I used some high-tack white glue. I only put glue towards the middle of the leaf because I wanted to be able to lift the edges of the leaf up a bit to give it a bit of dimension. I didn't want it completely flat on the card. And I placed it about a third of the way down from the top and a third of the way in from the left, so it conforms to the rule of thirds. And for my sentiment, I stamped "Thank You" in black ink, cut it out with a small stitched rectangle die and tucked that next to the leaf. And that's the first card done. For my second card, I chose this square grid stencil and turned it so that they were more like diamonds than squares, if you see what I mean. I then blended on a very light pink ink. I think this is quartz, and I went from the bottom left in a diagonal up towards the top right. I do love a diagonal design. For my stamping, I chose a grungy splat stamp and a darker pink ink. This is pink champagne. And I stamped the splats in the apertures of the stencil following that same diagonal. So this is just a pretty pink grungy splatty background. Some of the splats didn't stamp perfectly, so I got my little correction pen out, rolled it on my ink pad to pick up some ink, and then filled in any of the empty spaces where it hadn't stamped properly. If you want to know how to make this DIY correction pen, there is a video linked below. For my third background, I used Clay Mask and I blended this again from the bottom left to the top right. I did say that I do love a diagonal design, but this time I did create some darker patches so it's not so uniform on that diagonal. I've got a larger patch in the bottom left and a smaller patch in the top right. For my stamping this time, I chose a text stamp. It has the word love on it and then a bit of a definition underneath it. I thought that would be fun to add, so I stamped this in the diagonal again, pressing quite hard to get that stamp to contact the paper really well. And I stamped that in Coral Cabana, which I thought would show up quite well on that clay mask. I chose a hexagon stencil for my fourth card. Hexagons remind me of honeycomb, so I had to colour in my hexagons with yellow. This is shea butter, and I blended that from the bottom right to the top left. And for my stamp I chose a honeybee because hexagons and yellow and bees go together, and the colour I used was apricot. And again I had to press quite hard to get the stamp to contact the paper. I decided for my fifth card to use some large diamond stencil shapes, and I blended on one of my favourite Catherine Pooler colours, Hot Tub. It's just such a lovely greeny blue or bluey green, one or the other. And I blended it in a band down the left hand side of the card, about a third of the way in from the left. For my stamping, I chose a leaf stamp and Skylight ink, which is a darker version of Hot Tub. And I tumbled those leaves down that band of Hot Tub blending. And for my final card, I decided to go for brown. So the only brown Catherine Pooler ink I've got is Sandcastle. And I blended that in a band down the right hand side of the card through this kind of brickwork stencil. And for my stamping, I went for a vintage type camera stamp and stamped that in a cascade down the right hand side. So that was all my backgrounds more or less created. Do stick around for a couple more minutes and I'll show you the finished cards. Right, so now I'm going to share with you all my finished cards. This is the one you saw me do from start to finish on camera. Here's the second one, and all I did to this one was add some pink metallic spatters across it, and then some gold glitter die cut splats and a warm wishes sentiment. For the third card, I added some copper metallic splatters following that diagonal. I then stuck on some copper glitter hearts that I cut with some confetti dies, and a nice big bold sending love a third of the way down and a third of the way in from the right on that intersection there. For my bee card, I spattered on some gold metallic paints, again following the same diagonal. Then I die cut out some flowers in different sizes from some gold leaf paper that I bought back from Japan. I stuck those on the diagonal as well. I added some white Nuvo drops for flower centres to bring some of the white from the background to the foreground. And then a with love a third of the way down and a third of the way in. For the leafy card, I added some teal spatters, some metallic teal, a happy birthday a third of the way down and bang in the middle. And then I clustered some more of those gold leaf flowers around the sentiment. My last card, I had to really think about. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with it. So I spattered on some metallic brown paint, focusing it over here on the right. And then I decided to add a film strip, film negative die cut. I tried a variety of different colour cardstocks, including gold and copper, but in the end I felt black worked really well. It had the punch that I needed it to. So I put my congrats a third of the way up and a third of the way in on the intersection, framed it with one of these negative pieces. I then added a partial piece down here and a partial piece up there. So I've got 3 on here. And I added some black Nuvo drops, again to evoke some movement, some flow, some energy. And I mounted the whole thing on black card to tie everything together. And I haven't put this on a card blank yet. I'm trying to decide what colour card blank I want to put it on. Whether I put it on, say, a white, I'd need to make it slightly bigger. Or if I go for, say, a brown or a black. So there you go, 6 cards made with this stamping through stencils technique. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you found it helpful. If you have, do let me know in the comments and leave a thumbs up. And if you want to see more from me, please subscribe and ring the notification bell. And I'll see you back here in a couple of days for another video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.